and welcome to Petrol Pet, and welcome to the Abarth 695 Rivale. So regular viewers to my channel will recognise my mini John Cooper Works Roadster, also known as Ruby. Would you believe I've had this car nearly 4 years now? I'm not one of these YouTubers that flips cars every couple of months. I'd love to know how those guys afford to do that. For me, I buy a car, I keep it, I run it for a good long period of time and maybe only change it every 2 or 3 or 4 years. And interestingly, next year, I am going to think about making a change to this car, and we're also going to be changing the Audi S4 as well. So I might actually get some car reveal videos in next year. But what would I replace this with? Now, I'm clearly looking at cars from Jaguar and Audi, high performance cars that will require more money going in and higher amounts of investment in terms of things like monthly costs and so on. But what if I wanted to spend a similar amount of money to this car? Now, I was talking recently to my fellow YouTuber mate Steph from StefAB TV, who is pretty much Mr. Abarth, and he said, look, you've got to try an Abarth 595 or 695. So I had a chat with the guys from Abarth UK, and they very kindly lent me an Abarth 695 Rivale for the week. And I've been spending a week pretty much considering it as a possible replacement to this car. I'll put Steph's details below, although I have heard on the grapevine that he's thinking of changing his name from Mr. Abarth to Mr. AMG A45, thanks to his new beautiful red AMG A45, which actually, come to think of it, I might even consider myself next year. But let's have a wander over and take a look at this 695 Rivale that I've been using all week. So in my life before YouTube, and actually before I owned the Mini, I owned an Audi TTS Roadster. When I was looking to replace that, I was actually at Festival of Speed, and I ended up sitting in an Abarth 500 on the Abarth stand there, and I really fell for the car. So much so that I actually gave the guys on the stand my details and said, I want a test drive. I'm really interested in buying this car. And they never called me, so maybe Abarth missed out on a customer. But anyway, here is the Abarth 695 Rivale. It's a pretty special version of the Abarth 500. So let's take a good look around it, inside and out, put it through its paces on the road. But let's start with a look round the outside. Now, before I go any further, I just want to put this out there. I am by no means an expert in all things Abarth, and I know from having watched many of Steph's videos there's a huge community of Abarthists out there, and you guys love this car very much and are very knowledgeable about it. So if I make any mistakes or say anything inaccurate, please be kind to me in the comments below and maybe just give me some constructive feedback. But I do love this particular 695 Rivale. It's a tie-up between Abarth and Riva speedboats. Now, Riva speedboats are the luxury speedboats you might see floating around Venice or in the south coast of France in Saint-Tropez, or on a James Bond movie. And this car is finished in Riva blue over grey, and it has this beautiful kind of light blue piping to differentiate between the two colours. I've always liked these cars from the front. The only thing I might change on this one is this lower grille here has the words Abarth written on it, and I might just have that accented in white, which I know you can do. But if you wander around the side of the car, it just looks fantastic. And these wheels are quite special. As side profiles go, I think that's a pretty good one, but I just love this particular choice of wheel and brakes. It's got cross-drilled brake discs all the way round, Brembo brakes up front. I just think it looks knockout from the side. And then you wander around the back, and I think the back is probably my favourite view. I've got lots of favourite bits at the back of this car. We're going to start at the top. I love the way that this spoiler's been integrated into the canvas roof. I think that's really clever. This kind of brushed aluminium trim that runs across the rear of the car, I think looks absolutely brilliant as well. But it's, for me, what's happening down there. The diffuser looks great, but this car, as standard, is fitted with an Akrapovic exhaust. It has beautiful carbon fibre tips, massive great big tailpipes as well. But the noise that thing makes is just delicious.
So to fully appreciate this exhaust when driving, you really need to go into the Sport button. I'll talk more about what else that does to the car, but it opens up the exhaust and it just makes it sound brilliant. But then the final thing you need for ultimate auditory pleasure is to drop the soft top. So, simple button, push that to open it. It's got a multi-stage opening, kind of goes back most of the way on one press. And it kind of stops there. The problem with that is you get quite a lot of wind noise, so push it once more, and it goes all the way back. It does give you reduced visibility out the back window when it's all the way back, but what it does mean it just sounds brilliant. Now the really interesting thing about the sound is, for me, it sounds better when the car's idling and burbling at low speeds. When you pull away, if I just slow down, nice bit, I've got a closed road near my house at the moment, it's brilliant for reviewing, but if I just can just hear that rasp at the low end when you're sort of revving through up to about 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, and every now and again when you get to about 6, when you change up, you get a really cheeky crack coming out the exhaust, but you can't do it on purpose. It only happens every now and again, so it's great because it almost feels like you've got this kind of, it's like a surprise, it's like this extra little gift the car gives you every now and again, and because you don't get it all the time, when it does happen, it's very special.
So from the driver's seat, you look out over this pretty funky and very sporty dash. There's carbon fibre everywhere in this car. The main dash is carbon fibre on the gear knob, on the steering wheel itself, which has a really nice chunky feel to it. Pretty basic controls. On the steering wheel, you've just got telephone controls on the right, stereo controls on the left. In terms of stereo, that's provided by Beats Audio, and they've partnered with TomTom for the sat-nav, which is a really, really good sat-nav, and the whole touchscreen infotainment system is really easy to use. The main instrument binnacle is nice and simple and non-cluttered. There's 2 versions depending on whether you're driving in sport or not, and you get a really useful turbo boost gauge. So a nice uncluttered dash, pretty funky, pretty out there, but just like my Mini, the opening for the windows is there, which I just don't get, but never mind.
So let's talk about performance. So 2 drive modes in this car, quite simple. I must say, throughout the entire time I've had this car, I've put it in sport mode. Sport mode firms up the suspension and it gives it a much more sporty throttle response. I guess if you're driving it around, you know, and you didn't want that extra throttle response, and also it gives it quite a lot more noise from the exhaust, then you could drive it in normal mode. The other thing I like about sport mode is it changes the dash. It gives you a kind of red background, a rev counter going around, big digital speedo, and it just turns the car into a real kind of sporty animal. What's the performance like? Well, completely different to my Mini. This is very boosty. So you kind of have a turbo boost gauge on the dash, and when that kicks up, when you get on boost, it really does sing. It really does go for it. It's got quite a lot of torque steer, this car, and especially if it's a little bit damp, you do have to kind of hang on for dear life when the boost kicks in. You really do, but it kind of gives it a really naughty character as well, and I like that a lot. But it is far, far more boosty than my Mini. My Mini's power delivery is quite linear, actually. So all of the performance in this car comes from a 1.4 litre turbocharged 4-pot. It's got 180 PS, 250 Newton meters of torque. Quoted 0 to 60 is 6.7 seconds, although we will put that to the test very shortly. And a top speed of 140 miles an hour. It's all driven through the front wheels clearly and through a 5-speed manual box. It would be quite nice to have just that extra 6th gear, that longer gear, but I guess I'm just so used to driving 6-speed cars. But a lot of performance and a lot of punch, that's for sure, for such a light little car. It really does deliver, and every now and again you get a bark coming out the back. You know me, straight bit of road, 0 to 60 test. 3, 2, 1. I got a lot of wheel spin to start with there, but that exhaust is just howling. Brilliant. Oh, that Akrapovic exhaust just sounds brilliant. When you get it out onto a bit of an open road, whilst the suspension is mega firm, it feels like a go-kart. There's no other way to describe it. This driving position, whilst not the best in terms of comfort, it just has this engaging feel to it. You just find yourself driving and really enjoying. Big smile on your face time. And that exhaust sounds wicked. I'm so lucky this week. The weather's been pretty good. I've had the roof down most of the time. Struggling to heel and toe just because of the way my legs are, but when you chuck it into a corner and then... oh, wow. This thing for me is not about long journeys and comfort. It's about short, bursty Sunday drives on a beautiful summer's day like today. But my understanding is this isn't really the hardcore Abarth. There's kind of more sporty ones. This is maybe a little bit more laid back, a little bit more luxurious. But I love it. It's, from a driving performance point of view, it puts a big smile on your face.
Now, I'm not so sure practicality is necessarily high up on your list when you buy a car like this. You're probably more worried about it being easy to park and nipping through busy city streets. But it is reasonably practical. It's got 2 seats in the back for a start, unlike my Mini, although they are pretty small, and for an adult it's a tight squeeze in there. My biggest problem with this car, if I were to want to buy one though, unfortunately is the boot space is tiny. My Mini's boot is huge. I can actually get a set of golf clubs in my Mini. This, you'd be struggling, you know, a few holdalls and that would be full. You can drop the rear seats and then encroach into the passenger compartment for bigger luggage and so on, but it is a bit of a compromise. But then this car's probably more about the driving and that experience than necessarily loading it up with a whole bunch of bags and going on a big long road trip.
Drive this car and not have a smile on your face all the time. Now, there are many things I love about this car, and the noise that exhaust makes and the kind of excitement, the driving excitement that you get. But I just can't get over the driving position in this car. Just isn't right for me at all. My problem is I've got quite long legs, so to get my seat far enough back for my legs to be comfortable, because there's no reach adjustment in the steering wheel, I'm outstretched. So I have to have a compromise. So I'm sat a little bit closer than my legs would really like, but I'm still actually not close enough to the steering wheel, and I do like the steering wheel quite close to me. And then the ride quality is so harsh, and these seats are pretty firm, that on a Sunday drive like this, where you're enjoying the beautiful countryside and the sunshine, it's fine. But if you wanted to go on a long journey, I've only done a couple of medium length journeys in this car while I've had it, and it's pretty tiring, to be honest, because it's such a skitty little car. And that's part of its character, but that's a big reason why I think I'd struggle to live with it, to be fair. So from a kind of ride quality and comfort point of view, it could be better. But did you just hear that exhaust? Come on, people. You've got to love it. It is tough being negative about this car in any way, because for the money, now as spec this car is just a smidge over £25,000. I know that's a lot for such a small car, but it delivers on lots and lots of levels in terms of performance and looks and styling. I think that's a pretty good price for this car, to be fair. Okay, time to head back to the barn and give you my final impressions on this little pocket rocket, this Abarth 695 Rivale. So what are my final impressions of this little 695 Rivale? Well, first things first, I've fallen in love with how this car looks. It's just beautiful, and I have to say I get lots and lots of lovely cars in Petrol, but whenever you park this up somewhere you always get comments, and I really like that. Could I live with one? Could I have it as my only car? Sadly to say, probably not. I think for me, just that harsh driving experience, whilst great fun at the weekend and when you want to go out and have a bit of a blast, on a long journey, or certainly the amount of miles I do, I think I would probably struggle just from the kind of driving comfort point of view on a long journey. But I do love it. Anyway, I have to say a huge thank you to Abarth UK for lending me the car for a week, for giving me this opportunity to really kind of get under its skin and experience it and see if it could be a car that I would own. And I totally get them now. They put a huge smile on your face. And I'd be very tempted to have it as a kind of play car, and certainly looking at all the kind of modifications you can do to them, I'd imagine that would be a great deal of fun. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you guys on the next film. But you take care. Drive safe.